Suffering is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to be your entire life. Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to give you a couple of tips that'll help you navigate suffering so that you can really live a happier, healthier, and more fulfilling life. So when it comes to suffering, and it's been my life experience, there's really only two options and as to how to conquer it. And the first is this: accept it. Here's what I mean. All of us are struggling with something, whether it's an alcohol issue, a food issue, a relationship issue. Maybe it's you're codependent. Maybe you're smoking too much pot, popping too many pills, overeating. You're not addressing something in your life, and you know it. You know, working below your means. Like the list can go on and on and on of all these different things, and we spend all day long. Like, what in your life are you beating yourself up for? And you sit there and go, gosh, why am I doing this? Why aren't I doing that? Like, there's something in every person's life where they're ruminating on it and beating themselves up. All right? Well, that's one way to stop the suffering, is acceptance. Look, right now in my life, I'm a codependent. Right now in my life, I'm going to be overweight. Right now in my life, I'm going to accept this terrible relationship. Whatever it may be, instead of demanding that you change, drop the shoulds and the coulds. I should do this. I could be doing that. Like, do you hear how shame-based should and could is? It's just complete self-blaming. So drop it. I don't know if you should be doing any different. I don't know if you could be doing any different. And what's it matter? You're not. Well, why don't you just lay off yourself for a little bit? Like, give yourself a break and just go, so I guess I decided to be human for a while. I'm just going to accept that I'm perfectly imperfect, and I want to be an addict in this area of my life. I mean, I've done that. You know, when it came to, I wrote about it in my book, smoking. Man, there are times in all of my addictions where I'm like, no, I'm perfectly comfortable being addicted. I know when it came to intimacy, that was the definite choice. Like my first marriage, we had 12 instances of intimacy in 10 years. Well, I made the choice, man, I got right into my, intimacy addiction immediately. I wasn't ready to let it go. I'd just been all those years, I'm justified it. I condoned it. I was perfectly okay with being addicted for a while. I made peace with it. Now, the problem is, underneath it, I really wasn't okay, but I was mostly okay with it. More okay with it than not. Now, eventually that started to shift. And that leads us into the second thing. For a period of time, we can accept going against our morals and values and our own personal negotiables and non-negotiables. We can let ourselves off the hook and love ourselves, but there always comes a point, a tipping of that scale where it's like, I can't do this anymore. And we really don't like who we are. Now we get into the real suffering, because to let that thing go feels like the death of us. We've used this tool to avoid pain, to avoid suffering. The problem is it now is creating the suffering. And so we're caught in this double bind, no-win situation. I need this so I don't feel like I'm suffering, yet when I pursue it, it creates suffering. No, I can't outrun it everywhere I go. That's the junkie who keeps shooting up, right? And keeps having health conditions, but can't stop. They just caught over and over and over and over. That's the cycle that people get stuck in. And what I finally came to the realization was that it's the avoidance of pain that creates the pain. And what I had to be willing to do is, I talk about this a lot, the 5 stages of grief. And most people live their life, literally their whole life, in the first 3 stages. Shock and denial. Think of it. Most people don't want to deal with their pain or anything and admit their childhood was imperfect. All the things were in denial, that they're responsible for their choices. Oh my God, they're the problem. They're the jerk. I was fine. I didn't deserve this. Like, we're all in massive denial. And then bargaining. Well, it's not so bad. I guess it's we bargain with ourselves and with others to stay in the shock and denial. And then anger. The anger gets projected at ourselves and others. And we just ruminate on those 3 so we can avoid what? Step 4, depression. That's where the pain lies. And this is where the suffering is. So we're using these many times addictions or coping skills, whatever. We want to avoid the suffering that's in step 4 and in the depression. Yet everything we're using creates more of this. And so eventually the only way a person, this is what they call hitting bottom. What happens is they start to recognize that this avoidance technique is creating more pain than the pain they're trying to avoid feeling. And that's usually when they hit bottom and they decide to face this pain. All of a sudden, this isn't as bad as this. And that's what happens to all of us. What I had to learn was, before that dynamic gets that way, to get started over here. Because I lived this, and it cost me, relationships with my kids. It cost me marriages. It cost me financially. And so I remind myself, Kenny, all that time that you think you're avoiding suffering, because I don't want to experience this. Oh my God, this pain is so bad. I'll never get through it. Oh my God, it's terrible. I could never survive healing all this trauma and oh my God, that's what people will say. I get all these private messages. Oh my God, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too much. It's too much. And I agree. It feels too much. But what I recognized was this is too much. This is way too much. Health problems, relationship problems, money problems. Every problem in my life is because I lived over here and I avoided this. And it's the same for you too. Your life is a nightmare because you are avoiding this with this. Your projection that this is too scary, that this is too much, is a lie. And you want to hold on to this and not face this. You're convinced yourself that this is too big, and that's just not true. And that's what I remind myself of. It's still, like, don't get me wrong, this still feels too big. But I know that I'm lying to myself. That's the denial, the shock and denial. That's the bargaining. And then that's the anger that I'm like, no, they're the problem. I'm using all of that to avoid it. And so how I end suffering in my life is I go right at that. I bounce between the two. There are times I've allowed myself to be in addiction and give myself, or avoidance. Not everything was addictive, but many times I avoided for a period of time where I felt a sense of acceptance. But once I started to feel that acceptance creep away and start becoming self-loathing and self-recrimination, and now all of a sudden I started using a lot more of these avoidance techniques, that's when I went, Kenny, you have to go here. You have to quit the denial. You're lying to yourself. You have to quit the anger against yourself and others and all the blame that's associated with it. And you have to stop bargaining with yourself and others. Go towards the so-called pain. What you discover when you go here is, it's so funny how we lie to ourselves, that this isn't all that painful. It's nothing like we think it is. I mean, yes, there have been times that have been very difficult, but there's always so much joy in this. Life gets better. And see, that's what you find out. What you're really scared of is that life will get better. That you'll lose all the attention that you get from complaining about life sucking. That you'll lose all the time that you spend beating yourself up, ruminating. What am I going to do with my thoughts now? I don't have me to beat up anymore. That's what really scares us. That's what's really in this is, oh my God, when I do this, I can love myself. Ooh. That's our greatest fear. And that's our greatest suffering, is to love ourselves. That's what we're ultimately afraid of is, can I truly, it's that great poem. I don't know if it was Maya Angelou. Many people have done it, but it's called Our Greatest Fear. You know what? I'm going to pause this because I'm going to read it to you. Ultimately, our suffering is this. This explains it better than anything I've ever heard. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be all of those things? Your plain small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel unsure around you. We were born to make manifest the greatness that is within all of us. It is not in just some of us, it is in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That is petrifying. To know that we have that much fear, and that's what our suffering is in life, right there. Oh my God. Listen to the responsibility of that for me to walk in how beautiful and talented and gorgeous and fabulous we all are. To not play small, but to walk in my power and have people drawn to that. And then to know we're imperfect, and at times they're going to see that. Oh, no, let me hide over here in my addiction and my blame and everything else. Let me just stay here. I'll take this suffering over that. To walk in and manifest the ability that's in all of us. That'll scare the living hell out of everybody. Well, that's what's in front of you. Now you can decide to accept where you are in your journey, and that's great. I want you to. But if you want to end suffering, there's only one way. We have to accept how great we are. That's it. That is the journey of life, is to make manifest the greatness that lies within all of us. I hope you decide to do that when it works for you. If you like this, please like it. If you think it'll help somebody, please share it. And as I always say, enjoy the journey.